Okay, so again, we look at exponential functions. I want to generalize exponential functions. Okay, you know y equals 2 to the x is an exponential function. We looked at y equals 3 to the x, y equals e to the x. Okay? The general form of an exponential function could be written as y equals 2 to the kx. And the question is, what's the graph of that look like? Okay? Well, it depends what k is. So let's just look at what you get if you had y equals 2 to the 3x. Well, we can make a table for this thing. In order to make a table, I don't want to have to figure out what to put in for x right off. I'm just going to put in the values of 3x. So this column is going to be values of 3x. And what values do I want to use for 3x? Well, they're the values I'm going to put into 2 to the 3x, right? What powers of 2 can I actually calculate? Pretty much any whole number, right? Any integer. But what I want to calculate is the numbers that I'm used to. I want to calculate y for numbers that I'm used to. So if 3x is negative 2, we know then that y is going to be 1/4. And if 3x is negative 1, y is going to be 1/2. And I'm just going to get the numbers I'm used to from the basic function. That's another reason I wanted you very early to really nail these tables and graphs for the basic functions, okay? So I have to assume you understand exactly what I did here, except that these are values of 3x, okay? So what value would x have to have in order for 3x to be negative 2? What value of x gives me y equals 1/4? It's the value for which 3x is negative 2, right? If 3x is negative 2, what's x?
2/3?
Negative 2/3, good. Okay? So x would be, if x is negative 2/3, then 3x is 3 times that, and that's negative 2, right? And if x is negative 1, I'm sorry, if 3x is negative 1, then x has to be 1/3. Now here's a tough one. If 3x is 0, what's x?
0. 1.
Okay, yeah, well, you nailed it, good. Well, I knew you were going to get that one. And if x is 1, it follows that, if 3x is 1, x is 1/3. If 3x is 2, x is 2/3, right? So now let's do a graph. First of all, I'm going to just sketch a graph of the basic function for the basic values, negative 2 up to 2, and the values here go to 4, and the rest of the values are like they are, and I'm going to have numbers that give me a graph that looks like this. There's y equals 2 to the x. Okay, so what I want you to do now is sketch this graph and then sketch this function, 2 to the 3x, based on this table. Like, what's the first value? What are the coordinates of the first point you get from the first line? Just make sure you're on the right track here. On the first line, what's the value of x?
Negative 2/3.
And what's the value of y?
1/4.
So when I ask you what are the coordinates of the point, you're going to tell me what?
Negative 2/3 and 1/4.
Yeah.
1.
is to point your x, y, right? 3x is here, but you're not going to use it in graphing. You used it to get these values on the table, right? Okay, so we want to see what putting a 3 in front of x does to this graph. So sketch it for me.